Hi, everyone. I'm Miranda Ward with the Valuable Voices podcast. Thank you for being here. I have my friend Elizabeth Hunt, and she's really special because a mutual friend, Kim, who you may have heard another podcast where I interviewed her, but she introduced me to Elizabeth when I said, you know what, I kind of want to do a podcast. And I will be forever grateful because it was just a little phone, not a little, but it was just an impactful phone call, conversation, a couple links that she sent me, and literally the next day or two, I started this. So I'm so happy to have you, Elizabeth. She has her own podcast, Bright and Bubbly with Tori and Elizabeth. I will put the link. You've got to listen to it and check it out. But thank you for being here, Elizabeth.
Absolutely. And you're right. That conversation we had was probably 45 minutes. And to me, it's just humbling that God would use an opportunity with podcasts to connect. And I'm very thankful for Kim. Oh my goodness, God has used Kim in my life so much.
Love
the moment she was like, hey, I have this friend that wants to start a podcast, I was like, yes, like anything I can do for a friend of yours, it made me happy.
Yes, so sweet.
And I love it. Oh yeah.
So tell us why. I know you said just a couple months ago you never would have thought you had a podcast, but what kind of brought that about?
Yeah, so a friend of mine named Tori and I would FaceTime and video chat during quarantine. And we came into this routine that once a week we would call each other. And one day I asked her, hey, what's new? What are you doing? She goes, well, I want to start a podcast. And I was like, oh, Elizabeth, don't ask to be a part of it. Take a deep breath. Well, I did it anyway. I asked her and I said, hey, can I join this podcast with you? And it came from nothing to something in literally 4 days. So April 4th of 2020, we started just dreaming up what our name would be, what it would look like to start a podcast. There was a statistic we read that YouTubers, like there's a bazillion of them, like you can't even count how many, but when it comes to podcasts, there's only like 100,000 of them versus the other number. And so it was curious to us, like, oh, we could start a podcast and that would be easy. And so we looked up blogs, we looked up different things, and I even suggested some of them to you. And pretty soon, April 11th, we recorded our first podcast, and then we had one out like April 13th. And from there, we've already recorded 25 podcasts. We have an Instagram account, and we didn't like explode. We didn't go big time or anything like that. But what has happened because of it, the growth between the two of us as our friendship, but then also with our listeners.
Yes.
It's just beautiful because it's an experience that it's not just happening in my life, but other people can view it and see it too.
Yeah. And it's just something fun to do. Again, I was like, what am I doing? But, behind mine is really listening to voices in your life that are valuable, people that add value to you instead of maybe things out there that are not adding value. And just to let everybody know that your voice is valuable. Everyone has a story. So I love interviewing people. I love hearing people's story. And that's kind of what you two do. You kind of talk to each other. And it's just I feel like I'm sitting at the kitchen table with you with a cup of tea. And I think that's kind of your goal. But I literally felt that way listening to the past couple. So I love that. And like you said, just growing, right? Just, hey, I'm going to do something. And who knows what happens? Who knows how it will be blessed or how others will be blessed? But I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, well, I know you mentioned, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I was just going to comment. I'm so used to the back and forth of my podcast. I'm like, oh yeah, let me put in something.
Yeah.
But I was just going to say, like, even with the valuable voices, that was something that stood out to me when you talked about your podcast, was like, it's so cool to be able to do something like driving to work or doing the dishes and be entertained with something that is good and wholesome.
Yeah.
And so I love that about podcasts in general. And that's why we started one. And that's why I even love what you're doing, because it gives you something else to think upon that doesn't have to be even something you're watching. It literally, you can do dishes. And
I like the video aspect because I like to see people, but I like totally agree. Just putting earbuds in your ear or listening in the car and not having to focus on anything. And again, I just think we all have value to add and we all have things to learn from each other. So, and I know even just Kim mentioned, wow, just thank you. And you know what? I feel like such a blessing that all I did was ask her to help. I feel like I'm having people help me out when in fact, sometimes it's even a blessing to them, which is so cool because, hey, we get you more listeners and just open up people's, world to anything. I just love it. I love how it works. So.
Oh yeah. Well, in the same of like, even what we do on our podcast, we're just going through life and we find these different topics to talk about and then bring people in. Like I will definitely mention, hey, I went on a podcast, like things that we don't even always dream of doing.
Yeah.
It's really cool when they happen.
Yeah. It's just thought provoking. Last one I listened to talking about picture taking, and it's so mind was like, oh, I do just take pictures sometimes to post them, but I do really want to remember them. Like I want them. And so anyway, it just was so thought provoking. I love it. Definitely check hers out. But okay, you talked about a word of the year. So I really want to hear your take on that as well.
Yeah. So I was a part of a team at my job where the leader encouraged us a couple years ago to start finding one word for a whole year. He got the inspiration actually from a book. I have the name of it because I actually never read the book.
Oh,
I still
funny.
haven't read the book. But the book is called One Word That Will Change Your Life.
Okay.
And it has 3 authors. So you can look it up if you just type in one word that will change your life. And their focus was for business and all these different aspects. But how I was taught it was instead of having a New Year's resolution, like name your year to have one theme.
Yes.
And I've done it now for 4 years. And there was one year where like I flopped and I didn't pay attention to the word at all. But the last 2 years, I've really focused in on those words and it's completely changed my life. So 2019 was my first year for really diving in and I chose the word brave.
Awesome.
The reason being, I did not feel it. I wasn't feeling brave at all. And even to admit it was me overcoming a fear because then I had to literally tell people, hey, I need to be more brave. And basically airing out my laundry and telling them I'm scared all the time.
Right.
But no one reacted that way. No one was like, oh, you're scared all the time. They're just like, oh, you just want to be more brave. So it became something where I realized that I could be transparent and still not ever be embarrassed and then press on with that word.
Awesome.
So I did things that I had never done before, but it wasn't like, let's go skydiving.
Right.
Let's go overseas. Let's do these things. Now I've been skydiving, but it wasn't in my time of being brave. What really happened for me taking on that word was those little moments of every day of going, okay, I'm intimidated by replying to this email right now. Okay. I'm going to choose to be brave, even though someone else may think that that is such a small thing. Elizabeth, it's hard for you. So
right.
Sit down and write that email and be brave in that moment. I had failed at my word of the year in my eyes the year before because I didn't choose a word that was measurable.
Okay.
I can wake up every day of 2019 and go, hey, you're going to be brave today. And at the end of the night, ask myself in that measurable amount of like, hey, what did you do that was brave?
Love that.
Not, oh, this year I'm going to do one big thing. It was every day I could measure, was I brave? Was I brave in that conflict with my sister? Was I brave when I was late and I had to admit and apologize? Like, what did I do that day that made me brave?
That's so good. I love that. And I love just focusing every day on something because there's probably something every single day I could say, I need to be brave here. And I love that because I kind of don't, I feel like my attention span, I'd like need a new word every day or every month, but that's commitment, girl, like a whole year. I love that.
Oh yeah. Well, and then this year I have a brand new word and I will say I knew my word for 2020 in December. So I had a whole month where I was working on like my brave and wrapping it up.
Yeah.
And actually not even feeling like I should move on.
Wow.
I felt like I should stay and just have like brave 2.0.
Yeah.
And so when I got this new word, I was like, no, I'm not brave enough. Like I'm not done with brave.
Oh, that's so
I fell
funny.
in love with it so much of doing that one word. So my 2020 word is worthy.
Oh, beautiful.
Because at the time, once again, having to be very transparent, I wasn't feeling worthy of love. I wasn't feeling worthy of different things. And I've been raised in a culture, in a place that shouldn't be the case.
Right.
I've been in a home where love has surrounded me and I've been taken care of, and I should feel that, but insecurity crept in all the different places.
Right.
And I still wasn't feeling it. And it was affecting what I was doing at work. It was affecting my relationships. It was affecting all these things.
Wow.
So long story short, starting January, February, March, before COVID,
Yeah.
I really started to dive into what it looked like to be worthy of love and to be worthy truly of love by the Lord.
Yes.
And just dived into that and overcame it, actually. And now it's more like, well, then how do I show worth to other people? And how do I show worth to my God? How do I take on that word and add another aspect?
Beautiful.
There's moments where I want a new word. Like right now, I'm like stuck on the word thrive.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It is attacking me everywhere I go. Like, I want to thrive.
Yeah.
And it looks different, but at the same time, there's still aspects of worthy that I can dive into, because I can be secure one day and not the next, forgetting what I've already learned, or
Sure.
listening to doubt come back in and insecurity come back in. And so
Right.
having a whole year for a word like worthy has also helped me, because I have to overcome, and I constantly remember, hey, that's right, you have this, like, you have value. And that's why, like, even your
Beautiful.
podcast,
Yeah.
there's like valuable voices. I'm like, yes, that's right. And then also helping other people, because I'm transparent with my word and sharing it.
I love that. I love that, because everybody can relate to that, I'm pretty sure, in some aspect. And it sounds like maybe it started out with you, like self-worth and your own, but
Yes.
then you realized, wait, I have value or worthiness to give to others as well. And I'm guessing as you gave, as you give, as you serve, you kind of get filled up and feel more valuable as well. And I know you're a nanny, and I know you work with children a lot. So what a gift to show, especially young girls, teenagers, kids, that at a young age as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, at the beginning of the year, I was actually given one of those giving keys. I don't know if you've ever heard of that company, but there's this company called the Giving Key, where you buy a product from the company and they employ someone who is homeless, I believe. Maybe not quote me on that one, but someone like that situation.
Yeah.
And then what you do is you have this key, and when you overcome whatever's on the key, you give it away.
Wow.
And in the beginning of the year, someone gave me a key that said worthy on it. And if you look on my neck.
Did they know your word?
Well, they did. They
did.
Okay.
I was like, wait.
If you look on my neck, I don't have a necklace on.
Okay.
But I wore it for a long time until I was told to give it away. And I felt like I needed to give it away. So before the year even ended, I was given this key, and then I gave it away. And while I still had it, the girls I nannied for, because I happened to nanny for 3 little ones, would look at this key and ask me,
oh, yeah.
What does it say? So specifically what you just highlighted, you didn't even know, but like it was actually evident, because these girls would ask me. And so the one, she's a 6-year-old, she actually asked me, what was your word last year? When will I have a word? What is my word? And I mean, like a 6-year-old, curious, because she saw that I was wearing this key that had worthy on it. And I explained to her, well, I want to think about it all year round, and I want to work on it. And so it was beautiful. And then I gave it away.
That. I had goosebumps the whole time you were just saying that, because again, my heart is just for kiddos too, just with social media and everything else, and everyone's just so busy, and I just feel like I just want to like wrap up our kids.
Protect them.
Yes. And because I think I know a lot of the lies I believe and the pain is from when I was a child, and my parents are amazing, but again, there's certain things I believed or listened to, or social media or whatnot. So I just know at that little age of 6, you just want to like tell them you're worthy and you want them to like know that for the rest of their lives.
Yes, exactly. And it was so cool because nowhere was it intended for me that this word would affect her
Yeah.
and affect others so easily, because it's almost natural. So even me talking about the word, like, I don't have to have a lot of knowledge about the word of the year. I can just talk about experience. And I have a friend who used to do words of the year and was like, it was so much pressure. But truly, it's all on you. Like, it depends on what you choose to do. But it's cool because it can really be used in a lot of lives. So
I love that idea. I love that. Oh, okay. So kind of switching gears. How do you guys decide what you're going to talk about on your podcast when you and Tori talk? It's just like whatever's on your mind.
Oh my goodness. Yes. So yes and no. We really got into this structure where we came up with ideas first, and we wanted to have at least 10 ideas to start our podcast. That way we would never really get to the momentum and then go, oh, we only have 3. We're done.
Right.
So being at 25, we've invited people onto our podcast, friends of ours that have impacted us or have something to say. And we will brainstorm. Now, the Memory Makers and Picture Takers, the one podcast you listen to, was one of those ones where we had it in the back and we're like, oh, maybe we'll do that. And then we're like, what are we going to talk about today?
Right.
So we're not the best at like planning ahead and going, yes, we know everything we're going to say today in the podcast, but we have a notebook and we just we'll look at it and go, what are we doing? And so we started a new thing that by the time that this podcast comes out, we have a podcast coming out that's called Things Not Taught Well. And we're going to do a mini series all about things that we have found that our culture or the people around us don't teach well. Because there's some things that aren't taught well. But then we also sometimes just talk about whatever is in our head. Like we have a podcast all about one of the first ones, and it was just about our friendship and how we became friends. So just
I love it. It's so fun. It's just like, it's kind of like watching a TV show or a reality show. It's just getting into your life, learning what drives you, what you're excited about. So I love that. I can't wait to listen. Yay. You're definitely adding you. So where are you guys? I know there's a lot of podcast channels. Are you pretty much everywhere?
Well, we're working on it. We're the slow moving on that. We're on Spotify currently and on iTunes, and then through Buzzsprout, kind of like you.
Perfect.
We have all that, and then we did put together an Instagram account. It's bright_bubbly_ with T&E, and
awesome.
And we just post pictures. It basically it's just us. And
I love that. I love the picture of your kind of the podcast cover. It's so cute of you too.
Yeah, well, and you know what? It's really great when one of us has a brother. Tori's brother is a photographer, and he was like, yeah, I'll take your picture for you guys. And we're like, yes.
Perfect. Oh my gosh, he should just follow you guys around and take cute pictures.
We're like, can you come back in?
I love it.
It works really well.
Well, thank you so much. I just appreciate, again, I will be forever grateful. I will never forget you because you helped me launch my podcast, and you're just changing the world and doing your thing. And it's just so cool to see, especially, I mean, I'm 40 something. So at your young age, I just feel like you're just this bright spot in the world. So it's really cool to meet you and know you. And I know we'll keep in touch and I'll keep listening. So thank you for jumping on. And I love that word of the year. I'm going to encourage everybody to do that. That just sounds really impactful. And you can start today. It doesn't have to start January 1.
Oh yeah. Anytime. You can start anytime. It does not have to be just because of January 1. I know people who will do it on their birthday.
Oh, perfect. That's a great idea too. Your new year. I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. And you guys, just thanks for listening. If you know anybody that should be on here that has a valuable voice or that you want to hear their story, get me in touch because I just love doing this. It's just fun. I love connecting with people, especially in this day and age. So thanks, Elizabeth. And I will post a link to your podcast. Have a great day. Thank you.